Kia ora tātou, nau mai haere mai. Welcome to our council meeting, our first council meeting for Wednesday the 3rd of March 2021. And just to say that this meeting is being run under level 2 restrictions, so please if you already have done, fantastic, but please scan in or register at the door. This meeting is being recorded on the Council's website and the meeting will be live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. I understand that some of the guests here are filming this as well. A special welcome to Rangatane, Wiremu, Ruma, Tanakwe, to former mayors, John O'Neill and Jill White. And we have our health and safety and to other members of the public. Have our health and safety procedures up there. Fire and emergency exits are listed, and our evacuation area is in Te Marae Ahine, the square outside next to the clock tower. Health and safety wise, smoking is prohibited obviously. Defibrillator is located at the front of house on the ground floor. Councillors, we have people online as well, so if I could ask you and presenters to give your name before speaking into the microphone. Been a slight change to our order of business. We will take the declaration of office for our new councillor after the tributes. So councillors, we go to number 1 on our agenda paper. It's around apologies. I haven't received any. It's good to see a full house, even though you are a little bit more distanced. A notification of additional items. I haven't received any late items. Also, declarations of interest. Again, I haven't received any. So we'll now move to number 5, which is presentation of the New Year's honours. It's on page 9 of our papers. And this was around our New Year's honours for Palmerston North recipients. And Mr. Alistair Grant Davis, he was awarded Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to the motor industry, business and sustainability. Mr. Davis has had a career with Toyota New Zealand for 40 years, holding national and international roles, including Chief Executive since 2008. Mr. Davis has assisted the leadership of the motor industry transitions in the drive towards sustainability in vehicles and the delivery of a new industry service model. He has strongly advocated for standards and emissions, clean motoring and productivity. He played a key role in the launch of the Toyota Racing Series as a development platform for young New Zealand drivers. He's been involved in Toyota sponsoring many events, including the Sustainable Business Network, the Lexus Song Quest since the mid-2000s, Emirates Team New Zealand, challenging for the America's Cup, and the Department of Conservation's Kiwi Guardians program since 2016. He was president of the Motor Industry Association from 2009 to 2012, and having been a founding member since 1996. He was a founding member of the Sustainable Business Council in 2012 and was chair from 2015 to 2019. He's been a member of the Massey University Council since 2018 and chaired the university's Business Advisory Board from 2010 to 2015. Mr. Davis has also been involved in Alpha New Zealand, the national branch of the International Christian Association since the 1980s, and was chair from the early 1990s until 2010. Our other recipient is Mrs. Helen Susan Johnson, and she was made a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to Special Olympics and the community. Mrs. Heather Johnson has advocated for the disability community and has been involved in Special Olympics, coordinating volunteers and athletes to attend events locally and internationally. Mrs Johnson has been a New Zealand coach at 3 Special Olympics Summer World Games, 1 Asia Pacific Games and several Trans-Tasman events. Nationally, she has attended 5 Special Olympics New Zealand Summer Games and 4 Winter Nationals, leading the Manawatu team of 8 at these events. She played a key role in organising the 2009 Special Olympics Games hosted here in Palmerston North. She's been a driver for including Special Olympics athletes in unified and mainstream sports events. This has included her taking a team of athletes and volunteers to compete together in the Masters Games in Whanganui every 2 years. She has been involved with ParaFed Manawatu since 2011 and is a current board member. She's also held leadership roles with Parent to Parent, the Support and Information Network for Parents of Children with Disabilities, from 1999 to 2007, and nationally from 2007 to 2018, including time as a national president. Within the wider community, she's held roles within school boards of trustees, Plunket, Enabling Good Lives Mid-Central Region, and the Palmerston North Street Van. Mrs Johnson has received several Volunteer Coach of the Year and Civic Awards. Congratulations to both recipients, and I will now look to move the recommendation that Council notes congratulations be conveyed on behalf of the Council to local recipients of the New Year's Honours 2021. I look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Are there any comments? And there being none, we will look to vote, please. That is passed. 13 votes for, none against. Thank you. We'll now move through to the tributes, and we have 3 of these for 2 former councillors and a theatre icon within our region. So I'll pay tribute to these councillors, Helen Whitten and Gordon Cruden, and also to Pat Snoxall, probably more widely known as Mr Regent Theatre within Palmerston North. And it is a special, if not saddening and slightly sombre privilege to begin by bringing to Council and City remembrance the lives of 3 people who have been at the centre of Palmerston North's community affairs and have contributed so much as servants to our city, leaving us with lasting legacies they've passed away in recent months. Former City Councillors Helen Whitten and Gordon Cruden, and the man whose name's been so closely linked to the Regent Theatre, Pat Snoxall. And I acknowledge members of the families that are here today as well. We'll start with former councillor Amy Helen Whitten, QSM, who passed away Tuesday, December the 22nd, 2020. Helen was well known as a radiographer and as a member of the Ashurst community. She was an active advocate for the people of Ashurst, serving on council for 2 terms under Mayor Paul Rieger from 1989 to 1995. She was involved with the Ashurst Action community newspaper during the 1980s. Helen was also a member of the Village Valley Centre Building Committee. In 1989, with Ashurst about to be amalgamated into the city, and this was courtesy of the local government reform that also saw Linton and Turitea included into the city boundaries, Helen became a member of the Ashurst Community Board. Pledging her commitment and loyalty to the community that she lived in, Helen was elected as Ashurst's first ward councillor in the 1989 local body elections and was re-elected in 1992 and oversaw the establishment of the Ashurst District's Community House in 1993 next to the library in the old post office building. During her 6 years on council, all while holding down a full-time job, Helen served on the Ashurst Ward Committee, the Committee of Council, 3 further committees, and chaired the Community Development Committee. In this particular role, she took a lead in establishing the Ethnic Council of Manawatu Incorporated, which is now the Manawatu Multicultural Council. In 1995, following its formation, Helen became the council's representative on the volunteer organisation that would go to underpin the annual Festival of Cultures and provide information services, support, concerts, cultural gatherings, to increasing the number of city residents belonging to our city's 130 different ethnic communities. As an advocate for early detection and treatment of breast cancer, Helen became local team leader for the breast screen service, which was established by the DHB in 1995. With these additional professional responsibilities and the growing demands of council, Helen chose to stand down at the local body elections that year. However, she maintained her connections with the Multicultural Council, becoming its volunteer secretary, and a role she carried out until 2007. Helen's largely behind-the-scenes commitment to the ideals of the Multicultural Council by preparing reports, grant applications, archiving material, and establishing the body as a credible, influential, and resilient representative voice for our growing communities of migrants and resettled refugees. This in turn contributed to building to the amazing cultural diversity that Palmerston North enjoys today. In 2005, Helen's community work was recognised with a Queen's Service Medal for public services in the Queen's Birthday Honours List. Further recognition came in 2007 when she was awarded a $10,000 Paul Harris Fellowship from New Zealand Rotary. Never one to court the limelight, Helen had a quiet, determined, get-on-with-it approach and performed her everyday tasks with generosity and professional attention to detail. It was these qualities that led to a newspaper report describing her as the reluctant hero. Reluctant Helen may have been, but she certainly was committed. Our condolences to her family on the loss of their mother and a true community hero. So on that note, with respect, we will move the tribute there to the passing of Mrs. Helen Whitten. I'll look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open it up for any comments. There being none, we'll look to vote, please. It's passed 14 votes for, none against. Thank you. Our second tribute is to former Councillor Gordon Neil Cruden, who passed away Thursday, January the 28th, 2021. It's not unusual for former councillors to stage a comeback after standing down or losing their seat, but rarely, if ever, would there be a gap of 30 years between re-elections. Through sheer hard work, Gordon overcame a deprived childhood and put himself through law school, practising in the city since 1958. He extended a double-decker career as a councillor representing 2 distinct eras of history in Palmerston North, serving a combined of 5 terms, but under 5 different mayors. In his first 2 terms, he rubbed shoulders with the tall timber and prominent personalities of the day: Joe Walding, Brian Elwood, Trevor DeClean, Gordon Kerr, Sam Mahari. And when Gordon was first elected to council in 1965, it was under Palmerston North's 21st Mayor, Gilbert Rennie. Council meetings were convened in what is now the Evelyn Rawlins room at the back of Square Edge, which in those days was actually our council chambers. In 1967, Gordon took a tilt at Parliament as a national candidate running against Labour's Joe Walding, also a city councillor. That would have been interesting. In the by-election that followed the death of National Party incumbent Bill Brown, it was a close but no cigar finish for Gordon, who had another crack at Joe during the regular election cycle in 1969, again narrowly missing out on the seat. 1969 was also the year Des Black became mayor, but by that time good friend and ally Brian, and later Sir Brian Elwood, became mayor in 1971. Gordon was actually no longer on council. Gordon and Sir Brian had been together at Palmerston North Boys High and studied law at Victoria University, where they were both members of the debating team. In 1973, Gordon departed Palmerston North to take up a judicial role in Hong Kong, where he served on the bench for more than 20 years. And despite the exotic overseas location and his lofty legal experience, Gordon was always a Palmy boy through and through. And with Hong Kong returning to China in 1997, he returned to the city. In 2021, he successfully contested the local body elections, which brought in Mark Bell-Booth as the city's 26th mayor, and he oversaw the comprehensive redevelopment of Te Marae-o-Hine, the square. Gordon was again successful in the 2004 elections, which saw Heather Tangay elected as mayor, and in 2007 under Mayor John O'Naylor. As a member of those three councils, Gordon possessed an unprecedented institutional and procedural knowledge, which he was able to apply with his unique set of legal skills. Chair of the Hearings Committee and trained as a Resource Management Commissioner, Gordon had the full confidence of council to write up the details of complex regulatory decisions himself, rather than delegating to specialist lawyers and contractors or staff. A dedication to duty that certainly saved the council much money. In public life, Gordon was a true champion of Palmerston North and its council, helping to mentor and encourage many councillors. A determined and intensely private person, Gordon was known for his loyalty, but also his unique sense of humour, which was sometimes misunderstood. Mayor Jono once jokingly suggested to Gordon that he should have his tongue surgically removed from his cheek. But what could never be misunderstood, though, or underestimated, was Gordon's commitment to his hometown, which he served with remarkable devotion and distinction. Our condolences to Gordon's family on his passing. And on that note, I'd like to move the tribute with respect, the passing of Mr. Gordon Cruden. I'll look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open it up if there are any comments. Councillor Dennison.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That was a fitting tribute, actually, of Gordon Cruden, a man that I had the opportunity to serve with through that 2001 to 2010 term, and agree with his comments, and that was covered in the press recently. His formal demeanour, his sharp mind, and his clever debating skills. And some of the things that I can recall is that there's sometimes quite a lot of fraction in our councils in those mid-2000 terms. And he would come out and say, oh, there's a member who I just can't recall the name of, and then barrel in at who was meaning, and everyone else knew exactly who he was talking about. And just that kind of skill that is really seen. He was a great debater. Also, that sense of humour, that tongue-in-cheek style, and quite often socially, he'd be a lot of fun. And part of the reason, of course, he had those early years around this table, and some of the great stories that we'd have socially would be recalling some of those memorable moments of those years and those personalities with great detail, very accurate, and that was great to pass on that type of knowledge and stories for somebody coming in new. So all I wanted to do is really just stand and support what you said, Mr. Mayor. It was covered very well, and really to honour the man who I thought was a great servant of the city, but also a very good friend. Thank you.
Councillor Finlay.
Thank you. I also stand on Councillor Gordon Cruden. 2001, I think it was 6 new councillors came in, and Vaughan and myself, one of those, and also Gordon. And Gordon had experience, as Vaughan was saying, and he was like the mother chicken, and he just got us all together and told us how to do it. Sort of said, don't listen to them, this is the way you did it. And he had a wicked sense of humour at times. As Vaughan pointed out, in one term Gordon was on, we had quite interesting council where we were it was quite divided. And I can remember Gordon and another councillor both having their glasses right down the end of the nose, glaring at each other. And it was amazing how Gordon could debate. It's one of his skills that was incredible. He had the debating skill to be able to go right to the standing orders and not go over the edge. But everyone was trying to get him, and he was brilliant. Socially, Gordon, well, he would have us around his house for a cup of tea, which ended up in cheese and crackers and everything else. But here we used to have meals, and Gordon would insist that we had to sit there and talk, and afterwards go back into the councillor's room and discuss what we'd done. And especially the 6 new ones would go there and he'd point out where we'd done wrong and what we should do next time. He was quite good at doing that sort of thing. And but mainly, as I was a commissioner back in those days, and I appreciated having Gordon as the chair of the hearings committee. He had such wisdom and knowledge. No one dared correct him, because if you tried to, he would put you in your place. He was brilliant. And as the mayor mentioned, he saved this council a humongous amount of money because he did everything himself. We didn't have to pay the lawyers because we had Gordon on council. And I think the city has been a city that's gained a lot from having Gordon Cruden as a councillor here. And I appreciated the time I had with him.
Thank you, councillors. We have no more comments, so we will vote, please. And that has passed 15 votes for, none against. And our final tribute is to Patrick Pat Snoxall, QSM, who passed away Friday, February the 5th, 2021. Now, the council chamber may be a stage for some to star on, but others have made their impact on the city in other ways. Pat is a prime example. For Pat, council wasn't something to be on, rather it was an institution to cooperate and partner with. This same attitude saw Pat take someone else's design and make the first rotary cow shed or dairy shed in the world on his Longburn farm. Also applied when he was a scout leader, he couldn't find anyone to produce and direct Manawatu's first local scouting gang show. So he stepped up and did it himself, learning a lot as he went. That first gang show in 1962 propelled Pat into show business. In the 60 years as a director, artistic advisor, producer and stage manager, he was responsible for hundreds of productions, and it ranged from variety shows, pantomimes, talent quests, to musical theatre epics and large-scale productions, which included the first world on-stage performance for the Manawatu Multicultural Council. He also directed prominent performers such as Shane Cortez, Ray Wolfe, Hayley Westerner, Windsor Davies and Michael Barrymore, as well as shows for local societies and setting up the Abbey Theatre School. Pat directed all over the country and was a great ambassador for Palmerston North and its performing arts scene. He also ran his own production company, often in collaboration with the Regent on Broadway. Over 6 decades, Pat's theatre interest touched tens of thousands of lives, from audience members to show casts and their crews. A farmer and a businessman, Pat's offstage talents also extended to theatre administration. Our 2 main live performance venues owe a huge amount to his vision and input. Chair of the Appeal Committee, which raised funds for the building of the Globe Theatre, which opened in, in 1982. Pat was a founding and long-serving member of the Globe Theatre Trust Board. In 1990, he was awarded a City Civic Award for his services to scouting, guiding and theatre. In 1995 came his QSM for Community Services on the New Year's Honours List. Not content with resting on those laurels, and after initially backing the Palmerston North Opera House as the city's premier performance venue, Pat came round to supporting the retention and the restoration of the Regent Theatre, which Council purchased in 1993. Possessing formidable organisational and committee skills, Pat became involved in the fundraising efforts and in organising the Regent's opening 2-week-long arts festival, while his own production of The Sound of Music was the first full musical to hit the newly renovated Regent boards. Passionate and enduring efforts by Pat in coordination with many others ensured that this historic building would become a community performing arts mainstay for the wider region and is now recognised as the top provincial theatre in the country. Pat then served on the Regent Trust Board for the next 20 years, retiring from the board and from theatre in 2018, aged 89, and is also Friends of the Regent Theatre co-patron alongside opera singer Annalise. He was a guest of honour at the 20th anniversary of the Regent in 2018, and the theatre was the venue for his 90th birthday tribute in 2019 and for his farewell memorial service on February the 10th this year. All I can say is what a wonderful legacy that Pat has left behind. Our sympathies to his wife Jenny and the family. So this, if I could just finalise, councillors, I mean, the city really has been built on the shoulders of those that have gone before them. And without the community concern, involvement, commitment and service from these three people, Palmerston North would not be what it is today. We farewell three great Palmerstonians, but also their understanding, supportive and enabling families, our profound thanks. Please, if we could show our acknowledgement just by standing for a minute's silence. Thank you. So we will now move that final tribute and council note with respect to the passing of Mr. Pat Snock. So I'll look to move that, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open it up for any comments. Councillor Bowen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the family for attending today. I just want to make a few comments that echo some of the words that the Mayor has already spoken. Pat was a truly remarkable man, and the diversity of his interests speak to that. I was fascinated to read in the paper that he escaped from a German bomber aged 12, and that probably set the stage for the rest of Pat's exciting adventures. The Mayor spoke about his invention of the rotary cowshed, which is an idea maybe that he took from a theatre revolve, or that he took to the theatre for a revolve. And as somebody who's trod the boards on a revolve, I have some sympathy for the cows, because it's not easy. So, but typical Pat, that you would see those connections between the various parts of his life. And similarly, that journey through Scouts, into gang shows and then into musical theatre. I know that Pat directed more than 60 musical theatre productions in Palmerston North and around the country, probably most famously associated in our minds with The Sound of Music, which I've lost track of the numbers, but was certainly more than a dozen times he directed that particular show. And that's where our paths first crossed in 2008, when he cast me as a small pregnant nun. He also, and I know you mentioned in your comments, Mr. Mayor, that he'd cast Hayley Westenra. He cast Hayley Westenra in her first role. So I think we can credit him with some discovery of that particular talent, and New Zealand owes him a debt for that. Pat was a life member of both Act 3 Productions, formerly Abbey Musical Theatre, and the Manawatu Theatre Society. He's also a Civic Award holder from both Manawatu District and Palmerston North, which speaks to the breadth of his service across our community. They don't make many like Pat, and he will be so sorely missed. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Thank you, Councillor. There are no further comments, so we will vote, please. That has passed 15 votes for and none against. Thank you. Right, we will now go to the number 4, the declaration of office to our new councillor, Orfe Mikalad. And I will now invite Wiramu Tiawiawi to open with this part with a karakia and mihi. Kia ora, Wiramu. Kia ora.
League of Nations, and then I'm out there ki te kawa nei, ki rungi te kaupapa o te rā. Kia koro ai waraware, ki te hunga ngauru atu I te tirohanga kanohu. Ngā mate, ngā autua o kouta rā, mātou whakariki hia ki te ara o tangata, haere, haere, haere. Nau mai haere mai e hoa. Nau mai haere mai te whenua rangatani o Manawa tū. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou. I roto I te paipira tapu, ko te whakapono te tumanako me te aroha. I me nui, ko te rangi Māori e. Just a brief translation for my Muslim brother there. I'm picking on him. But just very quickly, as always, I ask God to be on our meeting today. And always in his korowai of love to be over all of us. Just quickly, I acknowledge too those who've gone on. And very quickly, Cruden, he came out to stay at the Promised Land. I think, Jill, you might have been the mayor at that stage. I was Mark Verbuth, sorry, one of you two. I got it right there. And we were lying in the meeting house there, and he thought, he hadn't learned that you can put a blanket around you and, change. So he decides to go out the front door where the light is still on, and he's standing in front of the window doing a strip show. And then we had him on about it later, but it wasn't a strip show. It wasn't. With Pat Snoxel, same with that man. He had a relationship with Rangatani, and I was one of the good boys that was a great scout, most well behaved. I remember once we had a competition to see who could light the fires the quickest. And my uncle was a very wise man. We had a little thing of petrol. Rangi win again. Kia ora. To you, my friend, I'll wait till you put the pen down, then I'll kōrero to you. To you, you and your family are very wise people. I'll tell you why you're wise people. Not only did you choose the best country in the world, Aotearoa, New Zealand, well famous for the All Blacks and everything else, America's Cup, and being good people, but you chose the best city in New Zealand to come and live. And I understood that you worked very hard. And you couldn't understand English when you first came, but you worked hard through. And probably Congo has had its fun and games over the years. And we're so spoilt in New Zealand that we take everything for granted. And you probably, and your whānau, probably know what hardship can be. And not only that, did you choose the best tribe in the country, Rangatani? Is that right, Rima? But what we must do, and I'm sure the Mayor and I have been talking, we're going to get all you guys to come out and stay on the marae for a night. Not just visit, anyone can visit the marae, that's a tick the box. But come out and stay the night. So, nō reira, Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
The electoral officer, Mr. Warwick Lamp, has declared Orfei Michaelid to be elected as a result of the 2021 by-election for Councillor of Palmerston North City Council. I'd like to now invite Councillor Michaelid to come to read the statement of declaration.
I declare that I will faithfully and impartially and according to the best of my skill and knowledge execute and perform in the best interest of Palmerston North City the powers and authorities, duties vested in me and imposed upon me as a member of the Palmerston North City Council by virtue of the Local Government Act 2002 and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act 1987 or any other acts.
I now call upon Councillor Michaelid to sign the declaration in front of the full council, and the Mayor will sign the declaration as a testing witness.
Very impressive signature.
Councillor, if you would like to say a few words.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou, no mai, haere mai. My name is Orfei Michaelid. What a historic day it is, not only for the city of Palmerston North, but New Zealand as a whole. It shows that we are moving in the right direction, progressive nature. 10 years ago, this would have been unlikely. And let's be honest, my presence on this stage or in this room is very unlikely. And not only to have been given the privilege and the trust and the confidence by Palmerstonians to serve as a city councillor. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the grace, the mercies that He's shown me, and also for allowing me to be a beacon of light, not just for the migrant and refugee community, but also to be an inspiration for other young people like myself. I receive and accept this honor with deep gratitude and humility. It is an honor that speaks to one of our highest aspirations, that of serving the people of Palmerston North, the people that we represent. And I want to thank the people of Palmerston North for electing me. This trust bestowed upon me also comes with great responsibility. I've always believed that local government should be about making our city a more desirable place to live. I'm passionate about Palmerston North. 15 years ago, I came to Palmerston North as a former refugee with my family. We had survived 2 civil wars, and life was rough, I have to say. To have everything and yet lose everything in the space of a few seconds. As I came to New Zealand, or Palmerston North, and settled in, Palmerston North made me feel welcome, and I'm always grateful for that. I've always considered Palmy to be home, and Palmy will always be home to me. When I witnessed many of my friends leaving to Australia, or some of my family members moving away from Palmerston North, I made a solemn decision to remain, and also to serve the people of Palmerston North. 15 years ago, Palmy took me in and nurtured me to thrive. It is now my turn to give back to the city. I therefore look forward to working with you all collaboratively and make Palmerston North a vibrant, a more inclusive place and more prosperous city to live in. And I look forward to meeting a whole lot of you guys and also understanding the processes that comes with local government. Thank you very much.
Kia ora, thank you, Orphe, and I'll just say a few brief words before we break and some photos may be taken. Kia ora, bonjour. Orphe, it's a real pleasure to have you around the table, and I think we are going to really enjoy having you around as a councillor. I'd have to say you ran a really positive campaign. It was centred around inclusiveness, vibrancy. You were concerned about the city's youth, and you've just alluded to that in your comments, but also understanding economic development, what the city can do, and housing. So we look forward to you contributing really positively around the council table and to our city. If I could just acknowledge, obviously, Rangatane, thank you, Wirimu and Ruma, for your presence here today. To the Mikalad whānau, thank you to your family, your wider friends as well. To our MP, Tangi Utikere, welcome back into the chamber, but from the gallery. A little bit of a difference for you. But also to former mayors that are here as well, Jill and Jono. It's great to have you here, and also others that are in the gallery. I think it shows that Palmerston North is very diverse and inclusive. So on that note, I will finish and just say welcome again, Councillor, and that's nice, isn't it? Say Councillor Mikalad. Kia ora. We'll break now for 15 minutes, and we'll be back into the chamber at 10 o'clock. Thank you. No, isn't right. So we'll move through to number 10 on the order paper, which is confirmation of the minutes. Council resolved the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the 21st of December 2021 to be part and public as true. I'll move those, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. That's on page 21 of your papers. Are there any matters arising? I've actually got online, I've got Mr. Tarangi.
Oh, that's.
Oh, okay. All right. Councillor.
Thank you. I just was wondering on page 28, the Cuba Street stage 2 laid on the table, what the plan is for that to be followed up. I didn't see it on the work.
No, it isn't on the work plan yet, because I think we've got to go back to the business community. I know staff are in train with that or about to do that, but that will come back very soon after that first meeting has been held. So I expect it to be, I would hope, by the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Councillor Finlay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, along the same line. Several of them, two of them, businessmen in Cuba Street have spoken to me. Seemingly they have had a staff member visit them recently to say it's all go and we're getting contracts out and everything else. Can I ask why a contract has been offered out and we was leaving it on the table, please?
If you talk to me after the meeting, I'll follow that up, but the mayor has reflected my intention.
Yeah. So the CEO and I have spoken, same with the portfolio leader. We're definitely going back to the community, the business community there first, and then then from there. Okay. Are there any other matters arising? There being none, can you vote, please? That is passed 15 votes for with 1 abstention. Okay. All right, we move through the report section. Number 11 on our agenda is district plan change D around pressure sewer systems, the operative report there. And do we have an officer reporting to that? Okay, thank you, David. Page 43 of your papers, councillors.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councillors. This is an administrative report, so it's the final final approval of plan change to the pressure sewer system, which is aligning the district plan to the pressure sewer policy that has been developed and implemented over the last couple of years. So there's parts of the city now where there will be a requirement for pressure sewers, and just make sure that the district plan requires that. So there were a few submissions, but when we spoke with the submitters, they were sort of happy to withdraw their submissions subject to a few changes, and then there was a decision made on the papers by the chair of the hearing committee. So it's good to go.
All right, thank you. Councillors, we have the full recommendations there. I'll open up any questions of the officer. There being none, I will look to move all 4 recommendations together, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open it up for any comments. There being none, we will vote, please. This passed 16 votes for, no against. Thank you. We now move to number 12, which is the CEDA Statement of Intent Extension. Again, I'll invite Mr. Murphy to the table, page 47, councillors of your papers.
Again, this is largely an administrative report. The same report is going to mail to District Council tomorrow, seeking a one month extension for CEDA to prepare the statement of intent. This was really just about giving CEDA some additional time to respond to the changes to the statement of expectations that will flow as a result of the recommendations passed by Council late last year. So they'll be required to provide the statement of intent by the 1st of April, and then there'll be an extraordinary joint strategic planning committee later in April to consider that revised statement.
Okay, thank you, David. Councillor Harper.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to understand the process that you've had to date with CEDA. So have you had meetings with the Chief Executive over discussions over to get into the state so far?
In relation to the extension or the resolution from last year?
The resolutions from last year?
Yes, there's been some correspondence with CEDA, and there's been a couple of meetings, there's been some correspondence, and there's another meeting scheduled for the week.
Can we ask what happened in the meetings that you had with CEDA? Any further extent, what happened with those meetings?
I think I think there's clearly an acceptance from CEDA of the resolutions because they have been passed. So the key discussion is understanding the boundaries of destination marketing relative to those resolutions and what that means for the service that CEDA provides relative to the service that NCC provides. So that's the core part of the conversation.
Thank you.
All right, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you for the report, David. On similar lines to Councillor Harper, following the recommendations in December, has there been any consideration in-house here about capacity and capability to bring the work in-house, and what will be the process, if any, through this chamber on that?
Once we have concluded our discussions with CEDA, the statement of intent, and we'll come back here. We are looking at in terms of the work that's involved and around destination marketing and what that will mean to the staff and our workloads, but I don't intend that to come back to this chamber. That is an operational issue.
So to So to confirm that's within the existing budget, that $200,000 not moving will be sufficient to bring that work in-house.
Thank you.
All right, no further questions? Great, thanks, David. I'll look to move both of these together. And second by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open it up in comments. Right, we will, right, please. 16 votes for and against. We then, final item, oh no it isn't, sorry, number 13, council work schedule, page 53 and 54. And I'll look that we move that council resolve to receive its work schedule dated March 2021, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Open it up for any comments or questions. Councillor Johnson.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a question around item 3. Do we have any timeline on that? Manual 2 residents.
Just through you, Chair, the information is being collected at the moment. I've been meeting with various suppliers in the CBD, such as the Lido and other organisations, to work out what contributions they can make to such a card so that the report can be informed. The short answer is no, not at this stage, but I think it would need 2 to 3 months to do that report justice. Thank you.
Councillor Maher.
I'm just wondering whether the Cuba Street redevelopment needs to be included on that work plan.
No, I don't think so. I need a resolution to come with the schedule, so I'll just progress the work. It's ready.
My understanding and advice, councillor, is no, it wouldn't. We've just got to progress that operationally, but you can certainly ask questions at the next council meeting if it's not here.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I want to see it progress, so there is a strong will to get it sorted. So I think your intent of what we're trying to do is shared.
Thank you.
Okay, councillors, we will vote, please. It's passed 16 votes for and against. We now move to recommendations from committee meetings during February. And the first one is presentation of the council adopt. Why is it different to here? All right, we have committee recommendations, committee of council, and council resolve to adopt clauses 4 to 21 and 6 to 21, approving the 2021 10-year plan supporting material, including the draft financial and infrastructure strategies and updated funding and financial policies, and the consultation document audit recommendations 1 to 7 from the council meeting the 17th of February 2021. I'll look to move those. Second by the Deputy Mayor. I'll open up for any questions or comments. And Councillor Dennison.
Question first, Mr. Mayor. Just in regards to 6.21 around the consultation documents, there was something I queried the Committee of Council about not seeing some of the other final material that was going to be used for consultation. Whether or not the question is if that was going to be ordered through your office for review and maybe circulated if possible. Is that opportunity?
I haven't seen it either, so.
Can I get an update? Just
I'll ask for the second. Where it's at.
Sorry, I was multitasking very poorly.
So,
thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to 6.21, which refers to the consultation document being approved, it was talk at the Committee of Council that there was some other smaller documents that were being compiled or for consultation purposes more specifically. And there was reference that may be an opportunity to be passed through the mayor's office at the very least, it may be circulated for feedback. And that I understand hasn't happened, but I wondered if I could get an update on what the status of some of the material was.
So the focus since the committee council meeting has been really reprogramming the whole LTP process because of the audit requiring the draft for effectively 4 weeks longer than what we anticipated. So the work is still being progressed on the consultation material. As we said in the meeting, there will be a range of consultation material, Facebook posts, radio, those sorts of things. But aside from the consultation document, one of the key consultation documents is going to be the summary of the summary that goes to every letterbox. So we're happy that is circulated by the offices to elected members for some comment before it goes out. But that's still in progress. But that will happen.
If I can just follow on from that, I wouldn't expect that to happen until after we've had the documents back from audit.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we'll still get that opportunity to see it for feedback. Thank you.
Councillor.
Thank you. Just on page 55 towards the bottom, there's a reference to noting 4.5 and 4.6 above, but there is no 4.5 and 4.6 above. So I'm just wondering if that needs to be corrected somewhere.
Yeah, you are correct. It actually refers to numbers noting 3 and 4 below. So we should be making that change. I think that's really a minor amendment, but you are correct, it was incorrect.
And Mr. Mayor, further to that, can I ask if that 421, the items in that be separated out based on voting?
Okay, yep, we can do that.
Transition 3 and 5 actually. So she has 3 and 4. Yeah. So 1 and 2.
So just a moment to get that set up.
Two needs to be amended.
Yeah. So we'll just note to 2.
So that's what we're voting on. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7.
All right, Councillor, we're going to be voting on 1, 2, 5, 6 and 7 first, and then we'll vote separately on clauses 3 and 4. So we'll just be voting on the first one.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask that item 2 be separated out, please?
Okay, right. So we'll vote on 1, 5, 6 and 7 first. All right, so we'll vote on that now, please. That's passed 16 votes for, against. And just if we can give
governance system moment. Vote on number 2 second. All right, so now we're just voting on recommendation 2, please. And then it's passed 15 votes for and 1 against.
Sorry, I can't.
And now we are doing number 3, recommendation number 3.
No. Yeah.
That has passed 13 votes for and 3 against. And then finally, recommendation number 4, please. And that has passed 16 votes for. Thank you. Right, we now move into number 15, which is on page 57 of our papers. And it's committee recommendations from our Finance and Audit Committee, and I'll ask Councillor Beattie to speak to these recommendations, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the recommendation from the Finance and Audit Committee meeting of the 24th of February be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor. And seconded by Councillor Naylor. Thank you. I'll open it up now for any comments from those minutes. Matters arising. There being none. Councillor Naylor.
I'm just asking if 921 be separated, please. Thanks.
Okay.
Which one's that?
Right, so we're voting what's on the screen, which is all of them at 9-21. Thank you. Councillors, can we make sure we vote? Councillor Finlay, Councillor Butt. Thank you. That's passed 15 votes for, 1 abstention. We now go to clause
721.
Clause 9-21. Come back up in a moment.
Take time.
All right, if we could vote on this one.
Okay, it's open now. Councillor Tennyson.
Councillor Tennyson. Okay, let's now still reverse 1 against and 1 abstention. Thank you. Okay, we move to number 16, which is to exclude the public around third-party commercial, and I'll look to move that. Seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to note, there's also an item 20 under part 2, which isn't indicated in the part 1 agenda.
Was re-released to the public.
Yeah, last year it was re-released to the public after printing. Okay, great, thank you.
But thank you for noting.
All right, if we could vote, please. That has passed 15 votes for 1 abstention. Right, just if we have a moment to.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, we're not seeing the voting coming up.
No,
Is there
I know.
a problem with the system?
Technology.
Sorry, I'll have to get it set up.
So we'll get those sent out to you. We voted where.